It's the 4th of July, but you would not know it if you were at Walt Disney World today. Decorations are diminished, and so are the crowds. Today we'll tell you why executives must have frowns as they watch attendance levels dip down, down, and down. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day to all of our American friends out there, as well as those of you who consider yourselves to be American adjacent. Yeah, we made that term up. It works, right? All right, well, I'll tell you something that doesn't work, and that's whatever they're doing at Walt Disney World and Magic Kingdom. Folks, click the like button, and as you know, every single weekday, and that includes holidays, I am here on the That Park Place YouTube channel, going back to my theme park roots. We cover so much more now on the Pro channel, and we don't get to do this as much, so I'm visiting here. I'm a guest on That Park Place. Happy to have all of you with us. And with that like button now pressed, let's dive into what must be pressing on the minds of Disney execs. Over at Disney World today, crowd levels are depressed compared to what they have been in the past. And I'll get into what they were like in the past. I have a long history of going to Disney World, and I'm going to tell you what it was like once upon a time. But first of all, let's just say that the month of June has seen attendance down. The bloggers, vloggers, cupcakers, influencers, they're all having to admit it now. Attendance is down. And Disney is going about doing things that I think will further diminish the number of people who go, like what they're doing to Tom Sawyer Island, Rivers of America, Liberty Square, etc. And frankly, I can understand why Disney wanted to make it be a little bit of a secret, to bring in the Trumpster, President Trump in a Hall of Presidents, and do it in sort of a clandestine way. But they did. It was very secretive. They didn't make a lot of fanfare about it. And before the 4th, there he is, back in the Hall of Presidents, but not much in terms of upgrades, if any at all. No big announcements, etc. They're focused right now on getting rid of Mark Twain. They're focused on getting rid of that darn Huckleberry and Tom Sawyer and all the rest. And they're not going to rest until it's done. Now, the fun is over at Epic Universe, of course. And what Disney is showing, what they're crowing about as their next big expansion, it already doesn't compare to Epic Universe. And by the way, Epic Universe, Universal Studios' new theme park, they've got an expansion already going. They just opened their park. Their expansions will be done before Disney's. So this nonsense about Disney was always prepared and all of that. And then you've got the issue with the Muppets and all this. It's really reduced the level of enthusiasm that people have. And then you take a look at, for example, this year, yet again, same as last year. The decorations for the 4th of July are not as incredible as they have been in the past. It's like they're not putting the effort in. And that's mind-boggling because Magic Kingdom, Walt Disney World, they are the crown jewels, at least financially. Now, I know that so many of you out there enjoy Disneyland in a different way, but oftentimes you think that it's truly the thing that harkens to Walt. And I would say that we ought to think about Disney World as his magnum opus. And it's also the maximum financial return for Disney. And it's always going to be that way, at least for the next decades, right? And so as we watch Star Wars stumble, as we watch Marvel in a malaise, as we see things like Elio not setting ablaze the box office, Disney World has historically been that which continues to provide the money even when Disney is creatively crumbling. But the bumbling that they've been doing in Florida has made this such that Disney World itself now is in danger. And those attendance levels show us that. Now, let me tell you what the demand was like decades ago when Disney World was truly the place to be. Now, I'm talking about, let's go to the 90s, for example. And I think the late 90s and just before 9/11, that those were the best years that Disney World had, not only from a nostalgia point of view and a quality of life point of view from guests, but also flat out from how the park was perceived, and that meant that it was economically stable. Back in the 90s, if you tried to go to the 4th of July at Magic Kingdom, they would do this thing called phased closings, right, as they reach capacity. And if memory serves me correctly, back in the 90s, there were about 4 different levels of closure. And those of you who worked at Magic Kingdom back then or at Disney World You let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you if I've got this right, but I think I do. It was 4 levels. And so it would phase off, and at first it would be, they would limit it to only those who could go in the park would be those who were staying on property. That would be like the first level. And then it would increase and increase until finally they said nobody else can come in here because we've reached capacity. Now, capacity then is not capacity today. And it's not based on like a fire marshal or anything. It's that Disney has artificially lowered what the capacity is so that they can say, oh, well, darn it, we've reached capacity, and we've reached capacity because, we want to make sure that our guests have the best experience possible. Now, I think that's fallacious, of course, and probably you do too. What you do if you're Disney and you have that many people wanting to come through your gate is you make more great attractions. You increase the footprint of your theme parks because you have greater demand, right? And so if the supply is exceeded by the demand, you increase the supply. What's the supply you can provide? Physical real estate in the parks along with attractions. What is Disney doing? What have they been doing? Not that, that's for sure. They just want to raise prices. Why? Because they want to cater to a different crowd. All right, but back in the 90s, that wasn't the way that it was. And I'm talking about when you tried, and I'll tell you a funny story. I remember that it was actually, you had to hold on to the hands of everybody in your party and kind of snake through the crowd in Adventureland. Yeah, during the fireworks. Not even, in front of the castle. The park was so crowded that it was shoulder to shoulder in Adventureland during the fireworks. You can't see fireworks in Adventureland, basically. So that's how crowded we were talking, okay? You're talking about massive lines at every single attraction. You're talking about Disney had to keep the park open sometimes till like 2 and 3 a.m. I've got a here on the desk in the studio at the Pro Studio. We've got a fast pass for Splash Mountain for 4 a.m. Just let that sink in. And that's about as late as it can get, right? You won't see many of those. There are a few from like the 24-hour things. I'm not sure if they ever did a 24-hour though with a fast pass. But yeah, we've got a Splash Mountain for 4 a.m., which I think would have been basically closing time in one of those longest days ever. So that's how crowded it was. That's how they had to handle it. The Disney of today is distinctly different. And those who remember back to what Disney was in terms of how much people wanted to be there, you can compare it and you can say, this is not the same. Does it get crowded? Well, sort of. And the way that they make you think that it's crowded is they block off huge areas, right? Let me give you a few examples. Because it's not so crowded, they don't need to use the upstairs at the Columbia Harbor House. Because it's not so crowded, they don't need to have every single dining room at Pecos Bills available. They can rope those off. Because it's not so crowded, who cares about Tomorrowland Terrace? When is that ever open anyway, right? You get the idea. You remove capacity in order to make sure that people are on the streets. You even downtime some rides, or you run those rides at lower capacity levels. Why? Because you need the people on the streets. And you need the people on the streets because you don't want to give the impression through social media that you're struggling to the degree that Disney clearly is. Now, how do they get back the magic? Well, the tragic news is, folks, it's not going to happen soon. The leadership is not skewed in the right direction. The creatives who are supposed to make the great stuff, many of those individuals, in fact, by far the most of them, have gone to Universal Studios and work for them now. And that means that they took Michael Jordan off the Bulls and put him somewhere else, and the Bulls are not who they were with MJ. That's what's happened to Disney with their creatives. They took the geniuses out, and you can't replace geniuses. That's why they're geniuses. If they were replaceable, they'd just be average. So those who were far beyond are gone, and they're not coming back anytime soon. But in the long term, what Disney could do, and I encourage them to do, is that they make it so that 10 years from now, there are plenty of places to expand into with a new generation of geniuses who could come in and save the day and bring this park back, bring back the other parks as well. Don't block yourselves in the way that they're doing with the Monsters ride. Don't block yourselves in the way that they're doing with villains and tearing down so much. There is an endless supply, essentially, of land around the Disney parks at Disney World. You don't have to make it so that it's impossible to access that. That would be my biggest recommendation. And then, of course, so many of the consumer-friendly things that are gone at Disney World, bring them back. Listen, you still have the trademark for or the copyright for FastPass. Drop this lightning lane nonsense. Let's go back. Let's go back. People loved it. And the bottom line is, if you give people something that they love, they're going to reward you with their wallets. They're going to reward you with their attendance. That's what I'd like to see at Disney once again. This 4th of July, rather empty. You can go check the live wait times right now. If you're watching this video at the time of release, you can verify for yourself. If you see a lot of 30-minute and 40-minute wait times across the board, that would never happen. Never happened 20 years ago. And it's not because they've suddenly become great at crowd management. It's because they don't have crowds to manage anymore. All right, folks, that is the video of the day, but I would remind you, get out there and have some fun. I hope you're eating burgers and hot dogs today, swimming at the pool. Go and have some fun, and fireworks. But again, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, just keep all your fingers and your toes. You might need them. All right, folks, that's the video for today here on That Park Place. Check out the Pro channel as well, WDW Pro. And don't you know, we've also got more tunes on New Rock Radio, on Vacation Radio. It's all under the banner of Prelude Pro Radio. An Independence Day set list was released just a couple of days ago. Go enjoy that. We'd love for you to have fun and listen to new music from people who love you. All right, until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep having fun. Like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, and go America.
Jump into the water.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun.
Want it all, so I give them cannonball. Yeah!
Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio.
Arizona. Pineapple pizza, Hawaiian ice freeze, yeah. Can't wait to be up. 3 days of you and me.
What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.